let's now proceed to our topic, PHP Loops. So in the following chapters, you are going to learn how to repeat code by using loops in PHP. So often when we write code, we want the same block of code to run over and over again at a certain number of times. So instead of adding several almost equal code lines in a script, we can use loops. Okay, so in PHP, we have the following loop types, and we're going to learn it one by one. So we have the while loop, we have the do while loop, we have the for loop, and we have the for each loop. Now let's discuss what a while loop is. Okay, the while loop loops through a block of code as long as the specified condition is true. Okay, so it said that the while loop executes a block of code as long as the specified condition is true. So this is the syntax. We have the keyword while, and we have here the condition if it's true, and what will be executed if the block of code is true. Okay, as long as the condition is true, this line of code will be executed. For example, we have here this one. Okay, so we have x is equal to 1, and while x is less than or equal to 5, it will execute what's inside the curly brackets. So here's the explanation. Okay, so x is equal to 1, that is, we initialize the loop counter and we assign it in a variable $x, and we set the start value to 1. Okay, so just like in our example here, so variable x is equal to 1. Okay, so this is initialization. We initialize the loop to 1. Okay, then we have our condition. Okay, so x is less than or equal to 5. So we're going to go back to our initialization. X is equal to 1. Okay, so as long as this is true, these lines of codes will be executed. So continue the loop as long as x is less than or equal to 5. Okay, so as long as x, which is 1, is less than or equal to 5, these lines of codes will be executed. Okay, so increase the loop counter value by 1 for each iteration. Okay, so we have here the number is x. X would refer to 1. Okay, on the first loop. Okay, and then once it reaches this line, it's going to increment, because plus plus means increment. Okay, so this is increment by 1. So this is 1. Okay, the number is 1. Okay, so the next time it loops through these lines of code, it's going to be 2, right? Because you incremented it here. Okay, so this becomes again 2. The number is 2. Okay, and when it reaches here, 2 becomes x plus plus, it becomes 3. Okay, and then it would loop again here. So it becomes 3, becomes 3 here, and then once it reaches this line of code, it becomes 4. Okay, okay, now if it reaches 5, it would still continue the loop. And lastly, if it becomes 6 here, oh, I mean, if it becomes 5 here and it will continue the loop, the next time it loops through, it becomes 6 here, and then it's going to evaluate, is 6 less than or equal to 5? Then if it finds out that 6 is not less than or equal to 5, then the loop stops. Remember, while the condition is true, the code will be executed. When the condition is false, it's not going to execute anymore. Okay, so this is what it means. Okay. Okay, so as long as x is less than or equal to 5, then these lines of codes will be executed. Okay. So what if we start it with 0 and we end it here with 10? Okay, so since here we initialize it with 0, okay, so in this part we assign the variable x with 0. This is initialization. It means that it's going to start in that number. Okay, as long as x is less than or equal to 10, then it will be executed. So how about if we initialize it to 10, and then the condition would be x is less than or equal to 100, and the number is, okay, so we're going to make it x plus equal to 5, or let's make it plus equal to 20. Okay. Okay, so we initialized it to 10. Okay, and then our condition is if x, which is 10, is equal or is less than or equal to 10, then this will be executed. The number is x, which is 10, and x plus equal 20. This is our increment. Okay, so we increment it by 20. Okay, so the next time it loops through, it's going to start with 10 and increment it by 20, then that becomes 30. Okay, so the next time it loops through, it becomes 30 here, and then it's going to re-evaluate. If 30 is less than or equal to 100, then it's going to execute this line of code, and then it's going to add again an increment by 20. Okay, so 30 plus 20 becomes 50. Okay, as long as this condition is true, in the loop is going to execute these lines of code, and if it finds it false, then it's not going to execute it anymore. 30. Okay, now let's proceed to PHP do-while loop. The do-while loop loops through a block of code once and then repeats the loop as long as the specified condition is true. Okay, so this is its syntax. First we have the keyword do, then open curly brackets, then the code to be executed, then we have the keyword while, followed by the condition. Okay, so as compared to while loop, here we have first the while keyword followed by the condition, okay, and the code to be executed. Okay, so now we have an example here. Supposing we have x is equal to 1, then the do while loop will write some output and then increment the variable x with 1. Then the condition is checked. Okay, is x less than or equal to 5? Okay, and the loop will continue to run as long as x is less than or equal to 5. Okay, so let's try it. Okay, so we initialize x to 1. Okay, do the following codes as long as our condition is true. Okay, that's why we have this output. So supposing we have 5 here, and the number is followed by the number and x plus equal to, so we're going to increment it to 5. Okay, while x is less than or equal to 50. Okay, so let's try to run this one. Okay, see, we have x is equal to 5. We initialize x to 5. Then it's going to perform, or it's going to run the code here. The number is followed by the variable. Then we increment it to 5. It's going to do these lines of code as long as this condition is true. That's why we're able to have this output. Now let's take a look at PHP for loop. The for loop loops through a block of code a specified number of times. So the for loop is used when you know in advance how many times the script should run, and the parameters are as follows. We initialize it, so we have the initial or the init counter. So initialize the loop counter value here. Test counter. It's evaluated for each loop iteration, so if it evaluates to true, the loop continues. If it evaluates to false, the loop ends. Okay, so here's the test counter and the increment counter. Okay, so we have here the increment counter. It increases the loop counter value. For example, we have here. Okay, for x is equal to 0. This is our init counter, or we initialize it to 0. X is less than or equal to 10. Okay, so this is our test counter or our condition. Then we have the increment counter, so it increases the loop counter value. Okay, then so this is used when we know in advance how many times the script should run. Okay, so we initialize it to 0, meaning it starts with 0. Then it's going to evaluate if this condition is true. So is 0 less than or equal to 10? Is 1 less than or equal to 10? Is 2 less than or equal to 10? Okay, if it is true, then it's going to increment. Okay, and it's going to print out the number is and the variable. Okay, and here is we provided a break. Okay, so let's try it. Okay, so x is equal to 0. Okay, x is less than 10. Okay, this is true, and x plus plus. Okay, so the number is 0, and then it loops through again, and then it's going to evaluate. Okay, so this time, since we incremented it here, it's going to be 1. Okay, is 1 less than or equal to 10? If it's true, it's going to perform this and it's going to loop through here again. Okay, but if it reaches 10, okay, it's going to loop through here one more time, and when it becomes 11 here, it's gonna stop looping because 11 is not less than or equal to 10. Okay, so this is the for loop. Okay, so let's try another example here. Okay, so we have for x is equal to 0, x is less than or equal to 100, and we increment it by 10. Okay, or maybe we can increment it by 20. Okay, the number is, and then it would be replaced by your variable. Okay, so now it's incremented to 20, and it started with 0, and our condition is x is less than or equal to 10. Okay, what if we initialize it to 40? And here we have 150. Okay, so it started with 40 because this is the number we initialize it with, and then the condition is x is less than or equal to 150. Okay, and we increment it again to with we increment it again by 20. Okay, so here it only ended with 140 because after 140 that's 160. Okay, and 160 is not less than or equal to 150. That's why it stopped looping after 140. Okay, so this is the for loop. Now how about the for each loop? The for each loop loops through a block of code for each element in an array. So the PHP for each loop works only on arrays, and this is used to loop through each key value pair in an array. So this is the syntax. We have the keyword for each, then we have the array as its value, and the code to be executed. Now, for every loop iteration, the value of the current array element is assigned to the value, and the array pointer is moved by 1 until it reaches the last array element. So this is the example. We have the variable colors. Okay, and in our variable color, we have an array of these color names. So we have red, we have green, we have blue, and we have yellow. So we're going to loop through this array. Okay, so for each colors, this is our variable name as value, which refers to the values inside your array. Okay, and then every time we call for each of the colors as the value inside the array, is going to echo the values which it finds inside the array. Okay, so let's try it. Okay, so we have the variable colors, and inside the colors we have set an array. Okay, so supposing we have arrays, no, let's change this to fruit. No, we're going to change it to ice cream flavor. Ice cream flavor. Okay, so what are the flavors of ice cream? So we have mango, we have chocolate, we have cookies and cream. Okay, so for each of the ice cream flavor, we're going to loop through the values. Okay, or maybe we can change this to flavor. Okay, which would refer to the values inside your array. Okay, so we're going to echo the flavor. Okay, so run. Okay, so now again we use for each loop when we want the loop to work on finding values inside your array. Okay, so another one we have here. Okay, so the following example will output both the keys and the values of the given array, which is age. Okay, so we have age as our variable, and inside this age variable, we store an array with the key value pair. So we have Peter as key, okay, and the value of Peter is Peter's age, which is 35. So we have the key and the value. We have Ben as the key and we have 37 as the value. We have Joe as the key and we have 43 as the value. So for each age, so we call the variable for each age as a variable, for each age as X, which is the key. We call it the key. Okay, and what is the value of this key? So we have X for Peter, X for Ben, X for Joe, okay, and the value or the age, okay, of this key. So X for Peter is 35, which is the value, okay. X for Ben is 37, which is the value for Ben, and Joe, the value is 43. So we're going to echo X. X would refer to the key, the name of the persons, and the value refers to their age. Okay, so we have the key and the values. This is the key and this is the value. Okay, so let's try it. Okay, so we're going to try another one. Grades. Okay, so we have instead of Peter we have Jack. So grade in math is 90. Whose name? Joanne. Okay, so the grade of Joanne is let's say 97. Okay, and another one. So we have I don't know. We have Michelle. Okay, and the grade of Michelle is 98. Okay, so it's going to call this. So instead of age, we're going to call. Okay, so instead of age here, we're going to call grades as, okay, the key, or we can assign it like name, okay, and the value, okay, or we can assign it with grade. Okay, grades refer to your variable, which contains the array. Name refers to the key, and grade refers to the grade of each person in the array. Okay, so let's echo instead of X, we're going to echo the name. Okay, and the grades. Okay, let's save it and run. Okay, so now we have Jack 90, Joanne 97, and Michelle 98. So this is an example of foreach loop. Okay, now let's try to create our own practical example. Okay, so let's start our Apache and open brackets. Okay, so we're going to create a new file and we're going to name it as loops.php. Okay, and we're just going to copy it from functions. Just copy everything, Control C, go to loops, paste, and we're going to delete this HR, okay, from here up to this div. Okay, so instead of PHP functions, we're going to name it as PHP Loops. Okay, so here we're going to name it as odd or even number. Okay, so we're going to identify if the number in the loop is an odd or an even number. Okay, so we're going to use for loops. Okay, start with PHP tags, and we're just going to make the font size larger. Okay, so first we're going to, I think we're going to use a while loop. Initialize. So let's say I, for, you can use any variable name. Okay, so we just use I, we initialize it to 0. Okay, while followed by the condition. Okay, so while I is less than or equal to 10. Okay, so what are we going to do if I is less than or equal to 10? Okay, so what are we going to tell our program if it finds out, or if it evaluates that I is less than or equal to 10? Okay, so this is what we're going to tell it. Okay, so we're going to put a conditional statement. Okay, if I, no, it's dollar sign. If I modulus 2 equals 0. Okay, what does it mean? If I, okay, so modulus 2 has no remainder. If it has no remainder, okay, so what will it output? Okay, so it's going to output echo I, okay, and then concatenate it. Okay, so I, or this number in the loop, is an even number. Okay, so we're just going to put a break here, ABR, okay, and okay, full stop. Okay, so this is our condition here. If I modulus 2 has no remainder, okay, meaning if for example there is 4, okay, so if 4 has no remainder, okay, so supposing we have 4 divided by 2, okay, so there is no remainder in it, okay, it's going to output that is an even number. Okay, however, else, okay, meaning if there is a remainder, meaning this is not equal to 0, it's going to output that this is an odd number. Okay, so it's going to find out if the number is an even or an odd number. Supposing we have 2 here. Is 2 less than or equal to 10? Yes. Okay, so 2 divided by 2, okay, is 1, and it has no remainder, so it's going to output that it is an even number. Okay, so after that, it's not going to perform the else because it has found out that that is an even number. Okay, after that, it's going to increment I plus plus. Okay, so that means that if it finds out that 2 is an even number, okay, it's going to pass through this incrementation and is going to increment it to 3. Okay, and then we have to, yes, we have our closing here. Okay, so if you hover your mouse here on this curly bracket, you're going to find out that this is its pair. Okay, so the pair of this curly bracket is this one. Okay, so it's highlighted or it's underlined. Okay, so this is the open curly bracket. This is its closing curly bracket, and while this condition is true, it's going to perform these lines of codes. Okay, so let's try to run this one. Okay, so that's localhost, name of the PHP file inside your htdocs, and that is PHP beginners. Okay, and the name of your file or your PHP file, and in our case it is loops.php. Okay. Oh, what's wrong? Localhost PHP beginners unexpected at line 105. Line 105. Okay, so we use the double equal sign to test if that is true or false. Okay, so if the variable I, okay, modulus 2, that is if I divided by 2 is equal to 0, if this is true, that's why we use the double equal sign, then it's going to perform the following lines of codes. Okay, so what went wrong with our program here? Okay, so 0 is even, 1 is odd, 2 is even, 3 is odd, and so on. Okay, so maybe we can change this to I plus equals 2. Okay, save and refresh. Okay, of course it's going to output that all of these are true because 2 is even and so on.